Hi, you guys. We are back and we are ready to jump into commandment number 7. Yes, we are on number 7. I know it has taken us almost a year to get here, but I've had a bit of a crazy year. So that's okay. We're still here. We're still chugging along. And I'm really excited to, I actually have had this one done for a while, but I've been really busy with the planning for Sukkot and other things that we've been doing with our involvement in the assembly that we are now involved in, with me doing worship there and our youth groups there, and it's been really great. So I'd love to give an update about that eventually. But today we're going to jump right into commandment number 7. You do not commit adultery. You do not commit adultery. Now, there are plenty of scriptures for us to see that even if we are not married to a earthly partner, even if we do not have anyone in our life like that, we are married to him. We are the bride of Yeshua. So we are in a covenant relation with the Abba through HaMashiach, and he has brought us into his promise, his covenant. So we are to remain faithful to him. Yes, we are to remain faithful. So even if you're like, well, I'm not married, so this adultery doesn't apply to me. Oh, absolutely it does. We remain faithful to him because he remains faithful to us, but not only just because of that, because we love him, because he is wonderful and we want to please him. So, Devarim 5:18, you do not commit adultery. You do not commit adultery. What does that mean? Well, let's break it down. Lo is no. You do not. Absolute prohibition. The word adultery means na'af. Na'af. It's meaning do not do this with another man's wife, or adultery of women. Idolatrous worship. Idolatrous worship. So we are to refrain from being idolaters. So adultery is also idolatry. It's idolatrous worship because we are his. We are his. We are the apple of his eye. We are to remain committed to him. And if we remain committed to him, we will remain committed to others. So if our responsibility and accountability falls to is set apart to him first, then it will be easy for us to be faithful to our husbands, to our wives, to those in our life that we have made a commitment to. We are not to apostatize. We are not to leave him for anyone else. We are not to turn and be betrayers. We are not to be an adulterer or an adulteress. We are not to be committing adultery. So in the act, do not. Prohibited. Prohibited. It's prohibited. Do not do it. And it's either a woman or a man who breaks wedlock. So it's perfect for the timing that we are actually in this command, because I'm in the process of learning Hebrew and being able to actually see these letters in Hebrew, which is so beautiful. I am so happy that I made the decision to do this, and I wanted to do this, but it just finally worked out with me coming here and having more room, more time on my hand to do these things, that I'm able to actually, we're in some of the shorter commands, but not the least. We're in the shorter commands, so it works out for me to be able to break down these commands real well with the Hebrew. And I also have a whiteboard. Yay, a whiteboard. So here we go. So let's break down the word na'af, which is adultery. So we have Na'af. We have the Nun, the Aleph, and the Pei. This letter Nun, let's break this letter Nun down. So we have the letter Nun. Now let's look at this letter Nun. The letter Nun is the 14th letter in the alphabet. So it has the value of 50. Now this letter Nun is said to represent faithfulness, which is fitting for the word that begins Na'af. So it represents faithfulness. And also it represents the reward for faithfulness. So let's look at the actual word Nun. So this letter Nun represents faithfulness. Let's break down the actual word Nun. Because the letter Nun, if the letter Nun represents faithfulness, and then we have the Yod, and we have the final Nun. So here we have the letter Nun, which represents faithfulness. And then we have the Yod, which is sort of like an and. But it could be silent and take the sound of the vowel. Now, if we look at what this Nun looks like, it is like a man bent down, right? So it's someone who is sitting bent over. So if we look at this letter Nun, it is like someone hunched over, bent over. Now, when we are bent over, and we are crouched over, our eyes are not looking around us at what's happening. We are bent over and we are crouched over. If we are like that, and our eyes are not looking to and fro, then we are more likely to be focused and subjected to the one who we are bent over to, the one who we are remaining faithful to. Then we have the final Nun, and this letter represents the righteous one who is upright. If you look at this Nun, he is no longer bent over, but he is standing upright, but still with the eyes to the ground, still with the eyes maybe closed, still with the eyes focused in prayer, in focus, in meditation. So this word Nun can easily symbolize the one who is humble before Yahuwah will also stand upright in the final day. Will also. This can be that. The one who is faithful, the one who is humble, the one who is bent in faithfulness will also stand upright in the final day. He is the righteous one who is upright, standing upright in the final day. Joshua, well, he was the son of Nun. And Joshua, Yahoshua, entered into the promised land. He cultivated a life of being bent and focused. He cultivated a life of choosing to remain. When all else in the camp went home to go to bed, Yehoshua remained to pray, to be bent over before Yah, to stay. He remained and focused there, because that was where the presence was, where the tent was, where the Ark of the Covenant was, where the tabernacle in the desert was. He remained there. He stayed there. He remained focused. And he was one of the righteous ones that seen the promised land and said, "This land is good. Let us go in and possess it, for Yah has given it to us." You see? He began in faithfulness. He was the son of Nun. He began in faithfulness, and in the end, he stood upright. He led the people in to the promised land because he remained faithful and humble and a righteous leader. So the Nun also represents the fish or the activity, because fish are always moving, right? They're always swimming. They're always active. They're always swimming around. So even in our activities in life, we are to remain focused, faithful, humble. Because the one who is faithful will stand upright in the final day before Yahuwah. Let's go ahead and look at this letter, Aleph. I think a lot of us have some familiarity with the Aleph. So we had Nun, the Nun, and now we have the Aleph. And then we have the Fe. So Na'af, right? So let's go ahead and look at this Aleph. The Aleph represents the Father, strength, the head, he's also likened to an ox, which represents strength again, the leader, also a husband. The numerical value for the Aleph is 1. So here we have, it also represents the separation between heaven, the Shamayim, and the earth. And it also alludes to also the mysteries of the Shamayim reaching down into the earthly realm. It is the strength of Yah and the mystery of Yah and how he reaches down and touches the lowliness of humanity. So we have this divine realm that is connecting from the heaven to the earth. So this also is a very interesting letter because not only is it silent, but it's the first letter. What is silence? Well, silence can be humility, right? When we walk into a room, not to be loud and boastful, we are to be quiet. Even if we are the first there, we are to be quiet and humble. We are not to be boasting. We are to even take upon ourselves the sound of the Father, the sound of strength. And the sound of strength can be silent. The ox is strong, but yet a worker, bearing yokes, bearing burdens, but yet strong. A leader is not always the loudest, but can also be silent. Okay? Now let's look at this last letter, which is the Pe or the Fe. So if there's a dot within it, it's going to be a hard sound. If it doesn't have a dot, it's a F sound. So in this instance, it would definitely be a F. Let's look at this. Fe. We have the 17th letter and the numeric value of 80. 80 is a very interesting number, as is 17, but let's look at 80. 80 represents redemption from a time of redemption from one's oppressors and enemies. So here we have the Pe, and this symbol is very closely connected to sort of like a mouth. Represents expression. Speech. Even breath. It is also like a spoon. So a utensil for gathering. Or collection. So this symbol here is like an open mouth. An opened mouth. But still bent over in humility. Still being humble and bent over, but yet standing upright. So let's put this all together. The one who is bent in faithfulness in strength, faithfulness to the leader, faithfulness in heavenly things, spiritual things and earthly things. Faithful to him who is faithful in silence when people are around, or when people are not around, in silence. And even faithful when we are speaking in our tongue, in speech. Faithful in words. Faithful in all. When our mouths are open. So when we are faithful, not just in our actions, but also in our times of silence, when we are alone, when no one is around. When we are faithful to the leader, who is our husband and who is our father, to him who saved us, to Hamashiach. Faithful in all things, whether in spiritual things or in earthly things. When we are faithful in our speech, when our mouths are open in our words, we will also be upright. We will stand upright in the final day. So the one who is humble before Yahuwah will stand upright in the final day, in strength as a leader, in heavenly things and in earthly things, in all things, in speech, words, we will be upright. We will be upright. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a beautiful description of what it means to not be idolatrous, to not be in adultery? Not only in our physical actions, not in our everyday life, but also in silence when no one is looking. When we are in times of leadership, to be faithful, to be consistent. In our times of prayer and in our times of activity, whatever we are doing, we are to remain faithful, even in our speech, in our words. We are to be faithful to the leader. We are not to speak falsely. We are to be faithful, because if we are faithful and humble in this day, then in the age to come, we will stand upright before our leader, before him and to him who we are faithful to. So that was commandment number 7. I'm really getting a lot out of this. I know you are too, if you're watching these videos and you're paying attention. And so the more I get into, the Hebrew, the more revelation just continues to just get poured out. So I'm really excited about number 8 and just seeking and searching more so that I can learn more and be able to share what it is I'm learning. And these commandments are so beautiful. They really do touch to the deepest part of our hearts and are able to really give us clear direction and understanding in how we are to live our life. How do we love others? How do we love Yah? Well, he's showing us. He's teaching us these things. And so maybe after I'm finished with all of this, I would like to actually go back and take some of those words apart in the Hebrew of the first, second, and third, I believe, and the 4th commandment. And just some of the really vital and important words in Hebrew, and go a little bit deeper into those ones as well, and get past just the English part of it and really dig into actually the letters of the Hebrew. But I have been getting so much out of this, and so our life is becoming clean and clear. We are beginning to understand the ways of our Father for us, And I don't know about you, but I'm super excited. So I love you all. I hope you got a lot out of this. And next time we go into Commandment 8, which is a beautiful number. And so is 7. 7 is a beautiful number. It is a number of completion, of perfection. So if we can get our hearts in line with being faithful to our leader, which is the 7th command, everything else can sort of falls into place, right? Because under being faithful, we can already keep the commands. We can keep the commands because He has given us the ability to keep these commandments through His Spirit, through the Ruach HaKodesh, living in us because of the beautiful gift and sacrifice that He has given unto us. Hallelujah! Praise His righteous, mighty, powerful name. I thank you so much. Love you.